out their diploma. If you're caring for a newborn, that's a paid role here in Australia. Aged care and childcare, it's something that we pay people to do. So you should put that experience and your caring for a newborn or parent underneath experience.
Warren.
Yep, sure. Hi. Hello? Can everyone hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
No worries. I just thought I heard the start of a question. No, no worries. So, like I was saying before, it's really important on your resume to try and have one that matches the role. So you
I
might end
have
up
a
having,
question.
yep, sure. Hi, Nigel.
Yeah. Hi, Warren.
Hi.
Yeah, remember you did my resume
Yeah,
at the
yep,
MiCare office? Yeah, and I've tried to apply with those app for the job, Seek and all this,
yep,
but there is nothing happen. And
yeah.
like my journey is still too long. I'm still study,
Mm,
and because now I have 200 hours for English for work. It's called
yeah,
self-it. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
yeah,
Yeah, and when I finish the 200 hours English for work, so maybe I can get the experience work and I get the
yeah.
certificate, so I can work part-time because I still want to study more English
I
because I
think
want to.
that's a great idea, Nigel. I think
Yeah,
what you want to do is when you're studying that English for work, you might
yeah,
also want to try exploring volunteering and
yeah,
doing some placements as part of your study. And that might be
yeah,
approaching an organization so you can get some real world experience. So if you're,
yeah,
for
yeah,
instance,
yeah,
interested in reception, volunteering to be a receptionist for a day at a community center can really
yeah.
help build those skills. And do
Yeah,
you remember
so I
when?
want to study that one. I want to
Yeah,
study that one, and
yeah,
I want to study more English because I want to study law. That's like I told you before, my journey is too long. Yeah. So
yeah.
what do I need to do? Should I wait until I finish the 200 hours, the English for work?
No, I think Nigel, any time's a great time to volunteer because volunteering is so good for your resume. You develop new skills, you develop work friends who can start to look out for you, and you engage with people so you can practice your English. So I think volunteering is a great way while you're studying to practice all those skills you're learning in a real world area. So I think
Mm.
doing both activities could be good. And volunteering doesn't have to be full time. It can be
Okay.
6 hours a week, 4 hours a week. You can do it in an afternoon. Lots of different types of volunteering. And I can send some websites through to Kate who can share some of my favorite websites with everyone to help you find volunteering and opportunities for placements. Okay?
Okay. So when I finish it, I need to add it in my resume.
That's right. You add volunteering underneath experience.
Oh,
So and you
okay.
don't call it volunteer. So if you're volunteering as a receptionist, you don't write volunteer, you write receptionists.
Okay.
You don't have to tell that you are volunteering. That's something you can put underneath in the small print there as well. But
Okay.
I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank
Really looking at studying, developing your English. The next step is
you.
developing your network and getting out there and meeting new people. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nigel.
I wanna ask you about the psychology test. They put sometimes they send you an email for jobs because I did
Ooh,
one this morning,
yeah,
like since I am.
yeah,
Like I did well, but I didn't know how to send it back to them. I
yeah,
was like, how I'm gonna let them know? And there's a part that I have to purchase something to continue to know the results more,
yeah,
like more wider or something. So I was like, no,
yes,
I'm not gonna pay for it.
yeah.
Just a standard one.
I think that's the thing with a psychometric testing. They call it psychometric or psychological testing.
Yeah.
Often employers put that to see how you think through scenarios.
Mm.
Psychometric testing is seeing how you respond to crisis, how you respond to problems. if you've got good mathematical or reasoning ability. Not all roles do that, so it's a very rare role that you pick, Lara, that will have that. They won't ask that in a supermarket, in a delivery driver. They won't even ask it in childcare. But if
But
you're
I'm
looking,
good.
yeah, so don't be fearful that everyone's going to ask it, but typically it's within the professional realm where they're looking at assessing abilities to problem solve and think laterally. So think more account manager, marketing. They use psychometric testing in psychology. They use psychometric testing in the military, just to see how people solve issues. The other part of your question was clicking on a link and paying for the results. You shouldn't have to do that for a process of looking for work. The psychometric testing should come with no cost to you for a role. It should be part of the process and covered by the employer.
All
Now,
right.
thanks for that, Laura. So the last extra hint that I've got is don't delete your old resumes. Every time you delete a resume, you delete one of your memories, because sometimes what you wrote on an old resume won't be on the new one. And if you delete the old resume, you've suddenly deleted a key piece of information. So what I advise people to do is save every version of your resume and put it into a folder called older resumes. So that way you're not deleting one of your memories. So that's some basic tips for resumes. In the future, we might meet together again where I go into much more detail about what I expect to see on a resume. All right, the next part is developing an online presence. As you know, social networking is huge. We all have platforms that we joined. The original ones were MySpace and Facebook, but now Facebook has taken over. It has around 2.6 billion users and about 60 million business pages. So when you have a Facebook, you can see other people's profiles, but guess what? They can see your profile as well. So be really careful about what you put on your Facebook. Make sure the pictures represent you in a positive way. So not necessarily a picture of you drinking a beer or getting drunk or anything like that. Keep the images professional. If it's got family, if it's got a special event, if it's got a picture of you speaking, that's a great one to put on there because it shows your confidence. But the other thing about Facebook is you can join business pages. MiCare, which is my organization that Kate and Sarah work along with, my organization, the organization I work for, we have a Facebook page. And if you join our Facebook page, there's opportunities. We post jobs on the Facebook page. We have events like this training on our Facebook page. So it's really important to join the Facebook pages of businesses you're interested in working for. For those who are doing professional roles, LinkedIn is a vital hub. It's sort of like a business network. So LinkedIn is basically the Facebook for job hunters and people who are looking to build careers. It's used by doctors, lawyers, engineer, IT professional, social workers, teachers, trainers, basically high-level professional roles typically use LinkedIn. And this doesn't have the social pages of Facebook. It's more about developing business connections. Secondly, you can ask people who you've worked for to put in a testimonial on your LinkedIn, and they can write that Lara was such a fantastic person. She helped build our business up from 10% reductions up to a 20% in profitability. So they can talk about all the positive things about you, and you can put it as a testimonial on your page. So it's really important for you to engage with social networking. And you might have two Facebook pages, one for just your family and friends, and one that represents your personal, professional approach as well. The other one that you need to generate is a Seek profile. And a Seek profile is basically a digital version of your resume, and employers can look through those resumes to find people. So if you're a dental assistant, putting up a Seek profile means other dentists who are currently looking for one can find you. because you've categorized yourself as a dental assistant. So it's really important to think online as well. So many of us use Snapchat, Twitter, and all of those things, and we don't think about the power of communication. It's a really important thing to do. Yep.
I want to ask you if when you were saying about testimony, like the doctor gave me a recommendation letter before I left Lebanon, and he signed it. So when I came here, I scanned it, and I'm like attaching it to my resume. Is it good?
I think that's a great thing to put as an attachment. Don't attach it to your resume, but send it with your resume, maybe a testimonial.
With it.
Maybe contact your doctor friend in Lebanon and ask them to add a testimonial to a LinkedIn account for you too. They look fantastic. At the bottom of a LinkedIn page, it's got a quote from a business colleague who really sells you.
Yeah,
and
we'll do it. We're good friends. Yeah.
Yeah, so and you can even help your friend out by suggesting the kind of things that you did while you worked for him, and that will give them make it easier for them to write a testimonial as well.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Thank you. So developing an online profile. This is different than a resume, and one of the differences, it's got a picture of you. For me, my hair keeps going bad, so I have to make sure if I take a photo, it's got perfect hair, that I look professional, that I look approachable as well. So when you choose a profile, make sure it's got the best possible photo of you. Secondly, it's got some key skills, some key achievements that you've got, and maybe even a summary. But remember, these online profiles on LinkedIn, they can be seen by businesses, directors, HR managers, very, very important people. So make sure it's only professional on LinkedIn. Try not to put jokes in or private pictures. Keep it really polished there as well. Once you've got your profile, you can start joining companies and joining favored workplaces that you really want to work at. And that way you can be kept up to date about their new advancements, the new programs, the new products they're producing. So when you go for an interview, you can talk about, because you know from all the information you receive, little insight into what they're doing in their company. All right. So here I've got a jobs of the future employment projection as well. Now this was generated probably last year. So it's talking about the growth in fields. At the moment, healthcare and social assistance, that's normally working with childcare, aged care, nursing, doctors, medical staff, PCA, PSA, those health roles. Health professionals, including dentistry there as well. So currently, this is one of the most in-demand services, particularly aged care, as Australia is getting older and older. Now, under coronavirus, this is still the #1 growth area. Professional, scientific, and technical services is the next one, and we're talking about IT growth. At the moment, everyone's working from home. So businesses have really started to look in web commerce and networking and cloud storage. So a lot of those roles, IT roles particularly, are becoming very, very popular in this environment. Construction is a large area, and the government's just recently released a package for new homeowners to build their new homes. So these three are probably still the same under COVID, under this coronavirus that we're going to. The next section, education and training, is actually diminishing. It's getting smaller because international students are no longer coming to Australia anymore. A lot of layoffs at the universities, Melbourne and La Trobe and Monash recently are talking about downsizing 2,000 to 3,000 people. So it's having a massive effect on education and training. But typically in Victoria, our #1 industry in terms of export dollars is education. Our second industry is construction. Healthcare and social assistance is not something that generates revenue for Australia. It's a cost. It's a necessary public cost. Whilst it's always in demand, healthcare and social assistance, these areas, education and construction, are the areas that we traditionally earn most of the money. Accommodation and food services have, as you know, pubs and bars have been closed. Now they've been reopened, but they've got limits on the number of people can come. The food industry has been affected massively by coronavirus, so it's not a growth area as well. So keep an eye on the sort of jobs that are growing over the next 3 to 5 years and see, is that worthy of me investing in more study? All right. So sources of work, we have lots of different types of advertising, but typically around 1/3 of the jobs are advertised, and they can be advertised on the internet through Seek, Indeed, and Jora. Indeed and Jora are what we call aggregators. So they're sort of like TripAdvisor or hotels combined. They don't necessarily have all their own ads. They just grab ads from the internet and put them all in one space. So I recommend that you at least go to Seek, Indeed, and Jora each day. These are the 3 best websites to look for work. But then you can also go to company websites. So if you're interested in working at a certain company like IBM or, for instance, Coles Myer, you could visit their website and they'll have a careers page as well. Yep, hello? Oh, sorry. Newspapers, The Age, Herald Sun, local newspapers, they have small amount of jobs. The Age and the Herald Sun, most of their jobs are put online now. So the newspapers are sort of an old way of looking for work, and also the local paper. So the visible market has moved from print media mainly to online now. The hidden market is the best way of finding jobs because 70% of jobs are filled before they're advertised on the visible market. So the hidden job market could be from friends, volunteering, from schools, from professional associations, from sporting clubs. They're people that talk to you about job opportunities. And they might say, hey, Morale, I know of a job that's perfect for you at our school or at this company. I heard from a friend of mine who works in this area. This is a job that would be perfect for you. So connecting with people is a fantastic way of finding opportunity. Another one is downloading some apps on your phone. And there's 2 great little platforms that you can use. One is called Airtasker, and the other one is called Sidekicker. And these are where certain tasks or certain jobs are advertised that are short term, maybe 1 day, 2 days, so you can pick up some money on the side. Another thing is headhunting via LinkedIn. Remember, we were talking before about developing a platform or a profile. Headhunting is when an employer seeks you out. So if you've got a really good profile page on LinkedIn, the employer might contact you and say, I saw your profile and I'm interested in interviewing you for an opportunity. And the last one is very unusual, but you can see it when you go shopping next. It's got help wanted. Sometimes if you go to a store, it might say delivery drivers needed or casual staff needed. They just put up a simple piece of paper that says, we're looking for someone to help. They don't pay any money for that. It's cheap for them to advertise, but many roles are basically unadvertised and just posted on their own company window. So if you go for a restaurant, for instance, sometimes they might say, we need a kitchen hand. We need a dishwasher there as well. They don't advertise it because they don't want to spend $300 or $400. They just put a sign in their window and they hope someone that walks past is interested. So think about varying the ways you look for work and really explore the hidden market. So when you're applying for work using Seek, typically what I do is I put in the skill in the what category. So it might be aged care, it might be elderly, it might be dentist, it might be teeth, it might be tooth. I might put in the keyword, and then in the where window, I put all of Melbourne, and then I click on the Seek button. The reason I leave it general is you will find all jobs no matter where they're classified. And this is the main tip that I've got to give you. This area here is the classification window. Not all jobs are put under the right category. So that's why I try to use this window and this window and ignore the middle window. Because sometimes an aged care job is put under community, other times it's put under healthcare medical, sometimes it's put under government. So if you select government under any classification, you miss out on the aged care jobs in healthcare, medical, or community. So, oh my God, sorry, the annotate tools not working so well there. So when you're looking at that function there as well, try to search on keywords, not always job titles, because some persons call a receptionist, other people call it an office admin, some people call it front desk, some people call it administration consultant or admin officer. So they use different words. So you should use different keywords when searching for words. So when you get a job ad, it's important for you to read the advertisement and discover the name of the company and visit their website. So for here, we've got a personal care worker and the company is MiCare. So when you see the company name, you might visit their website and read a bit about them. What's their service model? What do they do that's different than other aged care providers? On the job ad, you'll see a section called Key Selection Criteria. Here it says About You. So, and the About You normally gives details on what the minimum requirements are for that role. So this one here says a minimum of Cert 3 in aged care, recent experience, competency in delivering for high care, strong verbal skills. So make sure your resume, but also your cover letter covers those areas. So the cover letter is when you write about why you're interested in the role. It's different than a resume. A resume is sort of your past. A cover letter is applying your past and applying it to their company, saying, here's why I'd be an asset for this role, what I can bring to your company. So you'll talk about your skills, your experience, and it's got to be relevant to the selection criterion job ad. The next part of your letter would be a summary of your suitability for the position. You might say, here's why I've chosen to go for this role. I pride myself in being a professional person, always adapting to crisis situations with respect and dignity, but also with a sense of calm. You might also talk about the company, MiCare, that we brought up before. Talk about that you've researched them and you really like their model of aged care delivery that's client-centered. So basically with the summary of suitability, it's talking about why you've applied for the position and what you could bring to their company, but also see what the best fit is. And the best fit is normally talking about how you fit in with the group, how you fit in with the team, but also how you fit in with the culture. So this is convincing them you're the person that fits in with their pre-existing team and fits in with their culture. And it's really hard to write this section of the letter. In fact, I find it the hardest section of a cover letter is talking about why they should select you as part of their team. One of you, I think it was Lara or Morale, you brought up a dental assistant before. A dental assistant is the support for a dentist. They anticipate need, they comfort patients. They make sure that all of the other areas are flowing well so the dentist can achieve what they're required to do in terms of oral hygiene. But it's also another thing about a dental assistant is the calming manner that they can create to a hazardous environment. It's OH&S. A dental assistant sets up the room to make sure people aren't going to be hurt. So talking about all of those things really apply the suitability. And then the last part of your letter is a conclusion, wrapping it up and saying, I would be happy to display all the aforementioned qualities, skills, and experience in an interview at your convenience. I look forward to your response. Now, some people, when they write a letter, they have the same letter for each job. They just change Dear Warren, Dear Kate, Dear Lara. So they change the name and that's it. And maybe the date and the address. Do not do that, because I can tell when a letter's been written just for me or whether it's the same letter they send every time. And if it's the same letter you've sent every time, changing the address, the date, and the title takes about 20 seconds. If it took you 20 seconds to write a letter, let me tell you, it will take them less of that than to throw it away. It's not targeted to them. It's not customized. So really think about a letter as sort of like your advertising campaign, how you're going to sell yourself to that company. The next part is job preparation. The first thing that you want to do is research the company. If they've got a website, look at their website. Look at the clothes that they wear. Do they require formal attire? Do you need to wear suits? For instance, at MiCare, where I work with Kate and Sarah, none of us wear suits. I do. Actually, I wear suits, probably, but I don't necessarily fit the normal style of a social worker or community worker. Community worker normally dresses very polite, casual. So today I've got a shirt and a tie. This is something that I could wear in a community setting there as well. So when you're researching the company, have a look at what they do, what programs they have. The next part is travel. How are you going to get there? At the moment, the train system is not as reliable. They've reduced the number of trains because of the virus, so it may not be running as often as it was before. When you use a train also, they might miss the connecting train. So if you have to catch 2 trains to get to the interview, be aware that they may not link up very well at Flinders Street or at the interchange. There's a program you can download called Trip Planner, and that can really, really help connect you to the employer and make sure that you're using the right way to get there and the quickest way to get there as well. If you're driving, be aware parking is always an issue in Melbourne, especially in the inner Melbourne there as well. Parking is very expensive. Lastly is clothes. This is the one that's the hardest thing for me to advise you on, because clothes are very personal. But normally what I would say to people is wear what you would see in a regular office environment at that workplace. So if you're going for a job as a mechanic, that doesn't mean you turn up in a suit. You turn up in some nice pants and a nice shirt with a collar. No need to dress up in overalls, but a polite version of that. When you're looking at color, have a look at this illustration here. You can use color, but make sure it's always conservative.
I think we've got a question, Warren.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Did you have a question? Do you want to unmute you, or you can unmute? There you go. You can talk now, Sok. Oh, you're back. Oh.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Sok. How are you?
Yeah, good. Could you explain me about the public transport? Which good way to use the public transport?
Well, it's a really good question. So
Yeah.
I think with public transport, trains are much faster than buses or trams. And that's because they don't share the road. So when you're using public transport, downloading an app on your phone called Trip Planner.
It's called Trip Planner?
Trip Planner.
Hang on,
I think it's called PTV Planner.
Yeah.
I'll write it in the chat.
Okay, Trip Planner.
Yeah, there as well. So the PTV Planner or Trip Planner can help you say, here's the best way to get to your interview. A thing I like to do is sometimes if I've got an interview tomorrow, the day before I would go at the same time as the interview for the next day to practice, sort of do a trial, see what it's like getting there. Yeah, get a practice, see where it is, see where it's located, because sometimes on a map, it doesn't tell you how easy it is to get to somewhere.
Good idea.
Not a problem. Thanks. So when you're talking about looking for clothes, try and use colors that aren't too bright. So you don't want a bright pink or a bright green or a fluorescent yellow. You want to stay sort of gray, brown, light blue, dark blue, light red, black, those kind of colors as well. So these people look a little bit too stylish for me. I'm not that cool with style, but you can certainly look at their website and see what they sort of look like and try and dress a little bit more conservative, a little bit nicer than you normally would when you would go to the office for that job. I think that it's really, really important if you do have a suit that you look after it. Maybe you have just one suit for an interview. For those of you who wear headscarves, a hijab, a burqa, a niqab there as well, please wear that to an interview. Absolutely. You do not have to change that to fit in there as well. So what I would, however, advise is try and make your scarf, if you can, match the rest of your clothes so you look stylish in a way. I hope that doesn't offend anyone that's part of that faith as well. But I would definitely not want you to comply to any other's beliefs. It's important for you to respect diversity in Australia. Job interviews, a lot of people panic for job interviews, but let me tell you, I've sat on the other side. I've been an employer and a recruiter for a long part of my life. I'm just as nervous as you are. I want to make sure when I interview someone that I get the perfect person, not just for the company, but for their teammates, to make sure that they fit in with the family. So when you go for interviews, everyone thinks it's them being tested, but it's also your opportunity to see, is this the company I'd like to work for? The power is also in your hands. And one way of you exploring that power is by really going through and practicing your answers. A good thing to do is sit with a family member or friend and rehearse the interview. Some basic questions that I've got here are, tell me about yourself. And that basically encourages you not to talk about what you did when you were a kid, what your favorite food is, what your favorite color is. No, it's talking about what you see yourself as, what kind of person you are, that you're a kind, caring, and engaging person. So making sure that you get across the message that your person matches what they expect from the role. You might talk about why do you want to work here? You might talk about the research. Remember in the previous slide, we said important to visit the website and research the company that you want to work with. It's really important for you to talk about not just the role, but the company, the culture that the company has, the kind of things that they do, that you believe in what they do there as well. For instance, Kate, Sarah, and myself, we all work for MiCare, and MiCare is short for migrant care. We believe in caring for people and instilling hope when people come to Australia. We want to make sure you're empowered with skills that you can become independent and capable, and we want to look holistically, which means we want to make sure that everything in your life is working together to get you to where you want to be. We really want to make sure that you've got the skills, not us do the work for you. Sometimes that happens that way, but we really want to make sure that you've got the skills. So that's how I would answer that question too. Why should I hire you? This is an opportunity for you to talk about your experience, your skills, your professional demeanor, your professionality there as well. Professionality, I don't think it's the real world, but it's a mixture of personality and your professionalism there as well. So why should I hire you? Talking about your past experiences, your skills, and what you stand for as a person, hopefully will give them the knowledge that they need to see that you fit in. Another one is, what are your biggest accomplishments? So you might talk about things that you achieved in your past roles, things that you achieved maybe in your educational life, as well as in your employment world as well. So your biggest accomplishments It can't be a deeply personal thing like giving birth to my first child. That's a wonderful accomplishment, but it's not really work related. So you want to talk about what you did that you're particularly proud of in your former company or at your university or college. The last one's a bit tricky. Practice your handshake. It's very difficult for me to do it digitally with you as well. And it's not very safe with coronavirus to do it with a random stranger. But maybe shake the person's hand of someone that you live with and make sure it's firm, but not too firm. For me, sometimes my hands get wet. So sometimes I have to be careful that my hand doesn't feel like it's a noodle or a piece of meat. So you've got to really make sure that your hands are dry, but not too dry and not too wet. And also when you shake, that there's real happiness that you're meeting with them. Because really a handshake's about, I'm so happy to have this opportunity. Yeah, so I don't want you to, though, I'm 100%, I don't want you to shake a random person on the street and not spread coronavirus as well. So really look after yourselves and your family in this scenario we've got at the moment. The other type of questions are a little bit trickier, and they're called scenario questions, or they're sometimes called hypothetical questions, or they're called problem-solving questions as well. And this can be really, really tricky to answer well. So I'll give you an example there as well. So describe a situation where you had a conflict with another individual and how you dealt with it. What was the outcome? How did you feel? So this is a situation where they're asking you about your past, where you had a conflict with someone. And a lot of people say, oh, I've never been in a fight, but people have been in arguments. People have had disagreements. So don't think of conflict as a physical conflict, as a disagreement, as an argument, those things as well. And everyone's had a disagreement, a difference of opinion as well. When you answer these questions, you use this format. Situation. So you tell them what the problem was, what the disagreement was, what the conflict was about. Task is your situation. Why were you involved in that argument? What was...
Sorry,
Yep.
should we talk about it like easy?
Yeah, so it's a very difficult situation. When you talk about the situation, you don't talk about the other person negatively. You say it as a witness or a bystander would see it. So you take out your personal...
For example, in Lebanon, we like suffer with the salary because they don't give you that good salary. Like I used to take like $500 for the whole month. All right. Yeah. Which is like 500 Australian is equal to 500,000 dear Lebanese, which is nothing. So should I like say if I encountered this, should I say like yeah, I didn't like, should talk about it in the STAR method? Like,
yeah,
talk about it?
You don't have to mention STAR. STAR is basically your inner mind working. So when you propose your answer, you use this method there as well. So in your situation there, you would say, we had a disagreement, the colleagues, about the working conditions at our office. Mm-hmm. So that's the situation. You wouldn't talk about money. You would try to put that part in as well. Yeah. Then Tash, you'd say, as the most vocal person of my team, I was asked if I could represent them and discuss these delicate matters with my manager. The next step is action, what you discussed. So maybe you talked about what you're being remunerated, that there's staff dissatisfaction, and maybe you suggested some alternatives to getting higher pay. Maybe it's free childcare, maybe it's other things like gym packages, health packages, maybe it's support, maybe it's more leave, maybe it's flexible work. So the action is how you solved the problem. Yeah. The results is, were you able to convince that person to make a review of the pay situation, that they made adjustments? But let me tell you now, Lara, I don't think you want at a job interview to bring up a conflict with your boss.
I know.
Then they might say, oh,
like,
they might say, oh, Lara's too vocal. Lara's only about money, or Lara's only about personal conditions.
What I wanted, like the concept is if I talk something, would they think that I'm like material or something, like, you know?
Yeah, perfect answer there as well. So when you're talking about it, when you're talking about it, you might talk about a conflict with a customer, or a conflict about a disagreement about health standards, or it might be a conflict about ideology. Maybe they weren't being as inclusive to all members of the community. So try and talk about a situation that you know they do in that company.
Yeah.
So if you're working in, let's say, dental hygiene, talk about arguments with customers, talk about dissatisfied customers. I came in to get my tooth fixed and it's still black. So it's talking about all the things you might encounter in the company that you're going to work for. So try and keep your examples practical to them so they understand there as well. So this STAR is something that's in your mind. So when you answer the question, talk about the situation, what your actions or what your responsibility in the situation was, what actions you took to solve it, and what the results of those actions were. Now, here's another example of a question. Describe a situation that required you to do a number of things at the same time. So here's what they're asking for here is multi-skilling, multitasking. As you know, jobs, you don't get the luxury of doing one thing at a time. Sometimes you have competing deadlines. Sometimes you have, for instance, I've got this training seminar, but I've got another one in the afternoon and I haven't done the presentation yet. So at the moment, I'm delivering to you, but also thinking about my afternoon's presentation. I'm also have my email up and I'm answering email questions, not right now, but very soon. So you talk about how you time manage, how you prioritize, and whether I can get someone else to help me out, delegate. So these questions, the STAR is the method you use to answer it. What you did, what your role was. The first one was, what was the problem? What was required of you? What was your role? What action you took? And what the results of those actions were. So STAR, if you think about STAR, whenever you get a question that says, tell me about a time when, or describe a situation, or when they give you a specific example, the STAR method is normally how we answer it. But you don't go, S stands for situation. Here is a situation. You never say that. You normally put it into like a story. Okay, now this is really hard for me to explain just in 10 minutes. This is a whole day's workshop coming up, and I'd love for each of you to come along. It's completely free, so you won't have to worry about money there as well. And this is where we go into interview questions. How would you answer it? It's a really good format because we can do a video conference with the people that are in there as well. Now, the next slide, as I'm going to talk about how I can help you. I run a special training. Normally it's face-to-face, but I'm going to do it online, and I'm going to do it towards the end of June into July, and I'm going to run 5 3-hour workshops. One on career guidance, what kind of roles are out there, what kind of roles could you do with your skills, or help you to plan education to get into those roles. A 3-hour workshop on resume designs, a 3-hour workshop on sourcing jobs and finding creative ways of looking for work, another 3 hours on interviews, and the last one is about Aussie workplace cultures and rights. So basically, these are some workshops I'm going to be running towards late June, possibly July, most likely July there as well. So if you're interested, you can email me here to this one, but if I get a show of hands, can everyone put their hand up if they'd like to come along? They're completely free. 1, 2, would everyone like to come along? Molly? Yep. Would you like to come along? Great. So I'll send it out an email to everyone when this is coming up. I'll ask Kate and Sarah to give me the details so I can send through the invitation. Thank you, Kate. There as well. I'm going to be forwarding this presentation to you, and I look forward maybe at the end of June or the start of July to catching up with you, and we can really go into great detail that'll be helpful for you to look for work and also explore new opportunities as well. But thank you so much for today, everyone. I've had great fun. Your questions were fantastic, and you've been very patient while we explore this digital space as well. So I'm going to pass over to Kate and Sarah, who will talk about the next series of webinars.
Thanks, Warren. So we talked a little bit about at the beginning of this session that this was the first of 4 sessions that we're doing in our employment webinar series. Don't forget to tune in next week for our next session, which is Staying Safe at Work. We will have speakers from the Migrant Worker Centre coming along to talk to you about how you can stay safe at work, especially during this period of like COVID-19. So our details are on the flyer. Definitely feel free to give Kate a call if you've got any questions. Otherwise, we definitely thank you for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks everyone, and I know we were a bit late to start. We've had basically we're just getting used to presenting online as well, so it's great that you could all join. And I think it's good having the smaller groups so everyone feels comfortable asking questions. Does anyone have any other closing questions before we go? No? Okay. Well, I'll send through, like Warren said, his contact if you're interested in those more detailed sessions that he's running. But we've also got the ones that were just on the screen for next week. So next Monday is the next one, the 15th, and that'll be at 10 a.m. again. So if you're all happy, I can send you the link for that closer to Monday as well, and you can join for the Migrant Resource Centre, Migrant Workers Centre to present. Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your time.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you, Warren. That was
Bye.
great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So you can click X to leave.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, how'd you reckon that went?
Zero's gone. That was great.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it went pretty well. So
Yeah.
we had some questions which I was really paralyzed with, not with the answers, but that we get people to respond, but they were really, really good.
Yeah, and I hope I didn't throw you. I tried to ask some just to get that.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I do. This reminded me so much when I used to do the stuff for the Royal College of Surgeons for the Skills Victoria. Very similar to that. So I felt almost comforted by doing this. So
Yeah, I think once we got into a bit more of the detail of things, people were quite engaged. Yeah, that was good.
And I think you could see it's so dense. Like I could spend 3 hours on each one of those slides.
Yeah,
there as well.
Personalised, isn't it, to each?
Exactly. And you could see some people wanted really specific personal information, and while I wanted to spend all day with just them, I've got to be cognizant that there's 4 other people there as well. But I was really stoked with that. It was great.
Yeah, I think that was you did well to like answer the question as like an overview, and then get back to the slide as well. So no, that was really great. Thank you.
No, I think it went pretty well. So the next one I'm doing. Yep. Sorry.
No, I think the turnout was okay in the end. We got a few.
Look, I'm stoked.
I feel like a group.
Even if it wasn't that, if it was just us 3 doing it together, just seeing the flow of it's important. Like I was worried that it was going to take me 2 hours to do that, but it actually finished almost perfectly on time.
It did, didn't it? And it shows that resume end of it is heavier, which is where you spent more time, which is fine because that's got more in it.
And most people, that's the starting. If you're getting your resume on point, you're going to start all those other processes as a byproduct.
Yeah.
But if your resume is not on point, it's something to do with your paper communication or your digital communication.
Yeah.
And that was really, really good. So, yeah. Much more successful than my counselling interview, let me tell you. So I don't think it was that bad, my counselling interview, but I'm just my worst critic. So when I looked back at it, I just thought I could have done so much. And I wrote in maybe 60 or 70 extra questions I could have asked instead of the one I did. So, and that shows them at least I thought about it. But I think that process also enlightened me. I'm going to start recording my sessions for my own growth, but also to make sure that I start to look at things and reflect a bit more.